Hello and welcome to the show, Deansy's Adequate Painting. I'm your host, artist, editor and voiceover guy, Deansy. This channel is about how I get my miniatures to an adequate standard and how you can too. Watching this, you'll never win any awards, you'll barely win the admiration of other players. But what you will do is see that painting a model is achievable if you're going for a standard of it's not shit. Hopefully I will inspire you to get some paint on your pile of shame as you watch me get some on mine. Also, I don't use a dozen or more colours, so you'll never see 5 levels of shading and highlighting. There's a heap of other channels that are many levels better than me, and they'll teach you all sort of tricks and techniques to get better at painting. I'm here to show you that we all started somewhere, and painting shouldn't be something that overwhelms you so much that you don't even try. Starting off episode 1, I have 3 of the 40mm sector Mechanicus bases from Games Workshop, and I've just used a spray can of KS Black to undercoat them. So starting up is a coat of Lead Belcher, again from Games Workshop. Pretty much slapping it on the entire base, avoiding the other areas that I want a different metallic colour. This step isn't neat and tidy, it's about getting paint on a base and always going in for a second coat to get better coverage. As you can see, I'm using mostly the side of my brush. That's just to make sure that I'm picking out all those raised details. Next up is an old colour from Citadel from the late 90s called Beaten Copper, but any copper or brass colour will do. Try to be a bit tidier here, try not to hit the silver, but again, if you do, it's not the end of the world. I do, and I don't even bother cleaning it up. It's the colour I'll go over again to get that copper to pop, and then again I'll hit these elements with different paint, so it doesn't really matter too much if it's not perfect. We're going for, it looks nice, not amazing. We're not here to win competitions. As I said in the intro, the standard is, it's not shit. Next is to coat the entire base in Nuln Oil. This is meant to look messy. I want it to pull in the recesses. I want it to, pull in the panels. And you can see there's that 42. Want to fill it so I don't have to do anything else. From too little to too much. Clear your brush on another bit, go back to where there's too much and soak it up a bit. And as you can see on that skull, it's exactly what I've done. That 42 and that skull motif on the first one there is done, really. If you like that, that can be it. Wait for the wash today and call it done. I want a couple more colours on there, so I just waited for the wash to dry while I watched a movie. Gave me 2 hours off. Come back, and it's the Oxide by Games Workshop, one of their technical paints. Roughly cover all the copper so it looks aged, simple, and again, it's not shit. It's just another point where you can call it done. I wanted to give it a bit more of a throwback feel, so kept going. In the mid-90s, saw the release of the original Necromunda box game with cardboard terrain. Google if you either don't remember or weren't born yet. Either way, the printed terrain was a metallic baby blue. So I've ended up hitting a few of the flat panels with a light blue. Nothing too fancy. Lay the paint in the middle of the panel, brush it to the edges. Again, using the tip of the brush to get that fine line. I was painting around the bolts so that they have that still silver metallic colour. Any of the panels that had detail work in it, like the 42 and the skull, left them alone. That way they still pop on their own. Gives a bit of variation there. What you don't see here, because these 3 bases are for regular guys, is that any of my sergeants in my Solderinkers Primaris army, they get, along with their gold helmets, I've added some hazard stripes to their base. So later on in the video, when I'm showing everything off, you'll see what I mean by that. It's an easy enough process. I just pick, one of the panels, paint it yellow, 2 almost thick coats, just to make sure that everything's covered, because I do it after I do the silver and the non-oil wash. So I don't pre-pick which one to do, just sort of play with where the model's going to stand, where it sort of stands out and works. Like I said, so paint it 2 coats of yellow for complete coverage, and then I actually use a Sharpie to draw the black part of the hazard stripe. I have used a brush and paint before. Too much effort. I've cut a template out to use and everything. Too much effort. Just black Sharpie over the yellow. Perfect. Just a bit of a second coat to make sure they get full coverage of that blue. Fix up that little bit that was a bit dry, start to peel the paint off. Oops. Again, it's not shit. And here you can see a bike base done, again with the hazard striping. The 3 that we just painted, and again a Hellblaster Sergeant, see the gold helmet there, and as I rotate him around you can see where I've done those hazard stripes. That was some of the ones that I painted on, so not the straightest of angles, but you get the hint. Looks good, looks adequate, and that's the name of the channel, Adequate Painting. So thanks for watching. I hope that you've seen it's not too hard to get a start on painting. Yeah, I use the same paintbrush for all of that work. Make sure the brush has a fine point. You don't need expensive brushes when you're first starting, that's for sure. And as a first video, please click like. I'm hoping for 3 likes and none of them to be my mum as a pity vote. And remember, it's a win when someone says, that's not shit. Cheers.